Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Barb Bacon, and I'm a community advocate here in South Charlotte. If I had my buttons on today, it would be, let's get some gun control. I'm tired of looking at the news and seeing this. Black Lives Matter in honor of our friend Joel. And let's have equal rights for everybody.
This is Jenny James Gunn. I am a community advocate here in Charlotte, North Carolina for LGBT women's rights with the National Organization for Women, gun sense laws with Moms and Men Action, and anything that extends equity to all. Thank you.
Christian Cano, you're the co-host. My buttons are Moms and Men Action, gun sense legislation, healthcare for all, Medicare for all, and also in my heart, Black Lives Matter on behalf of Joe Oldham, who's a guest of ours who passed away last year. That's it.
Oh, we got the music back. Mm-hmm. Good morning, everybody. It is Coffee and Pan Dulce time, and we got our Cano music back. I think we went a week or two with other kinds of music. This is a bit like that. We share no expense, or we don't give it an expense. I don't know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Coffee and Pan Dulce time, and we're in the middle. Actually, we're a little past the middle of July. It is July 19th. Mm-hmm. For people keeping track, like people that listen to this a week or two later probably don't really care what the date is. They're just excited about our new episodes. But how's everybody doing?
Good. Good morning. Barbara's having sprinkler issues. Mm-hmm. It's good to have Barbara back.
It's a new neighbor. He had his whole front yard done with sprayers. Why people water their lawn is beyond me. But 3 of them are not exactly pointed in the right direction. And I walked by and it came on, and one shot me in the face and one shot me in the back. Well, at least I was cool then.
Yeah, yeah,
so wet. I'm like, whatever.
Actually, if the sprinkler heads aren't actually calibrated properly, he could get fined because it wastes water. So he needs to get that fixed.
Oh, I better go tell him.
Yeah.
Nah, I'll let him get fined.
I mean, someone has to complain. Anyway, well, as Jenny said, welcome everyone to Coffee and Pan Dulce. I'm Christian Cano, one of your co-hosts, along with Jenny Gunn and Barb Bacon. It's good to have Barbara back. She has been at marathons and traveling, and oh my goodness, you are busier than most people, so it's so good to have you.
I thought I was retired.
Yeah. Well, okay. We want to thank everyone who's joining us on Facebook Live, but also those who join us on YouTube and the thousands who listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platform. As Jenny said, today, when we drop this, is actually July 19th. We are 3 episodes into, is 2 episodes into July? 3 episodes into July.
Actually, our 3rd episode. So we had
3rd episode in July.
Our barely post July 4th episode last.
God, that's hard to believe.
We recorded it last week, but so we had one for the 5th, one for the 12th.
12th,
and
one drops.
This one is actually for the 19th. So
exactly.
Because now we're recording these things a week ahead, so we're it's actually still the 12th as we're recording these, but we drop a week later so we can edit and clean up the show. Because if you saw the outtakes, you would be amazed. And now that they're doing these little live things, like, there's a lot of things done off air that aren't safe enough to publish on air.
That's right.
So now that we're doing these little short, little 15-minute drops every once in a while, these little lives, it is weird to broadcast live again. But we've been pre-recording the show for almost a couple of years now.
Yeah, really.
So it is a little bizarre to go to test those waters and give you all some little extras. So you're going to start seeing what we call our little tea times, and we're going to be spilling a little bit of tea here and there so we did our first one about threads. So if you're not into much social media and you're listening to this on the podcast platform and maybe don't even participate, Meta, Facebook, Instagram Corp, came out with their version of Twitter. And so we did our first episode live about that and the impact that it's having on American social life and the impact on the marketplace. So if you have a chance, check it out. We have it on all of our platforms, both with Two Queers in the Truck and with the Coffee Show, and you'll hear more about it as weeks come by. And we still are doing our normal shows, or as normal as they're going to get. We'll kind of talk about that also during this one, because I think it was a great concept, and the brain of operations, Jenny, came up with it, and so we'll be doing this Tea Talk thing that drops live periodically whenever something major breaks, because this show is taped, and sometimes we cover things that have happened a week behind. So we'll talk about that here a little bit. But today's episode, we continue our shows about the state of Florida. I didn't even want to say the great state. The state of Florida. This is our third show about them, and this show is entitled "The Great Florida Brain Drain." But before we get into that, let's go to Barb's current events.
And this is Barb's current events.
All right, so Barb's current events, there's three of them. And we're going to try to keep this timely since now we have Barb on. So the first one, a New Jersey judge is being criticized for lip syncing, posting a video on TikTok, lip syncing a song, but the lyrics were considered inappropriate. So the lyrics are, I want to ride this, I want to ride my pony, I'm saddling. So apparently people found it offensive, and that's the first one. I want to hear what you have to say about that one. The second one is, it turns out data is coming out that in 2016, disabled voters split their votes between Republicans and Democrats. However, now it's like 80% of voters who are disabled said they will not vote for GOP candidates. So interesting that the GOP is actually pushing people away from their party instead of bringing people away. And then the last one is, this is interesting, because we have a similar situation going on here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And Jenny and I have talked about this. There is a Black state senator in Georgia. She represents an area outside of Atlanta. It's very, very heavily Democrat. She has switched from a Democrat to a Republican. And her, what she's saying is that she felt not cared for in the Democratic Party, and she had voted for school vouchers, and she was she got a lot of pushback from her constituents, but also the Democratic Party, because they are supporting public education. And so because she's voted for school vouchers, she said that the party has left her. So I want to kind of hear y'all's feedback, because I found this an interesting trend within the Black community, the Latinx community. There's some very conservative people who believe in school vouchers and charter schools, and they're feeling like the Democratic Party is leaving them. So, hey, Jen, so on those three topics, what are your thoughts?
Well, I'll start with the school voucher BS. It's a scam. Straight up. You know, school vouchers, school choice is all designed to water down public money. If you want to send your kid to a private school, by all means, finance it yourself. Just don't expect the state to finance it. We can't afford to. There's not enough money going to public schools right now. And here in North Carolina, you're breaking the Constitution. They have been in violation of a court order for years. And public schools need that public money. You know, and it's just as simple as it can get. Like they're trying to privatize public schools. Part of that equation is defunding public schools, taking away money and giving it to private entities that are barely functional schools, offer no services, especially children that are special needs, have special requirements such as autistic kids, kids with dyslexia. Public schools offer all those things. They offer all the occupational therapy, all that, where these charter schools don't. So if you have a kid that requires any kind of special accommodations, you're out.
They don't want you.
Yeah, they don't want you. They don't have to. And here's the thing. They don't have to take your kid. They're not going to take any of the kids that need any special needs because that adds to the costs.
Yep.
They're going to do away with every considered extra.
Sure.
And somebody that raised one kid that was dysgraphic, a form of dyslexia. Let me tell you, the public school system did way better for him than the private school we had him in for pre-K and kindergarten. We had to move him to a public school to get the proper help.
Okay. How about the disabled veterans or New Jersey judge?
The New Jersey judge, I don't really know too much about it, the subject, but obviously did something pretty unsavory to get some pushback, especially in this TikTok crazy world to get noticed. Or maybe he did something like the lieutenant governor did in Tennessee when he was ogling those little femme gay twinks, and people caught him.
Oh, I remember that. Yeah.
You know, maybe it was something along that. Maybe it was something sexual. Maybe it was something, you know, whatever, trying to be funny but wasn't really funny. Like Elmo Musk. But some people just think they're funny, but they actually.
Okay.
And I could picture a judge being that way.
Yeah. Disabled voters.
Disabled voters, yeah. I mean, when you're trying to, you know, take away Social Security, and you've got to figure that most disabled voters are on SSDI, you know, and you keep hearing, we're trying to take maybe your sole income away. Yeah, you probably are going to go to the party that's not saying that, you know, that's saying we'll protect Social Security because that's the right thing to do. And between disabled vets and disabled civilians, if somebody was threatening my income and my way to survive, and I heard one group consistently saying that, I probably wouldn't support that group. I mean, that would be a smart thing to do. But there are some conservatives that like to vote against their own interests. Yeah. There's a lot of poor Republicans that would rather vote for the party that eats their faces off. Because, you know, they're just as dumb as MTG. But if you're poor, a person of color, LGBT, a woman, a cis woman, anybody other than white males, you shouldn't vote for Republicans. They're coming for you. And it isn't. I'm not making this up. I'm not even saying this. All you got to do is just read what they say.
Exactly. Yeah.
You know. Yeah. That's a simple fact.
So, okay. And Barbara, you want to comment on any of those three? On your current events?
The only thing I heard about the New Jersey judge, I've got a niece that used to live there, and she's tight with her friends that are there. And apparently the perception is that it was like somewhat sexual dancing and
that's our
people. And I said,
okay,
this day and age, who cares? But apparently they do. So they're entitled.
Okay.
Let them do with him whatever they want to do. Totally agree with Jenny on the last two comments. I mean, I know in my own family, the Republicans say, well, if you're disabled, the hell with you. Just take care. You should be able to pick yourself up by your bootstraps and take care of yourself. And I'm like, what? What if you have a disease that disables you? Well, then your family should take care of you. I said, well, then you should be taking care of, it's just ridiculous. And so I just, and what was the other one?
The Georgia Democratic senator who switched to become a Republican.
Well, just like our own state here, huh?
That's exactly what I was thinking.
I wonder what they promise them, or I wonder what they tell them, how their perception can be so different from reality. I don't get it. So,
especially when they represent a heavily Democratic district.
Yeah. And I mean, isn't our situation similar?
Very similar.
I really don't understand it. So something must have been promised or given. I guess we'll never know. But I've always been surprised at certain groups of people that say, "Oh, I'm going to vote Republican," and I go, "Really? Why?" I said, "You know what? Wait a minute. I don't want to know."
Yeah.
I just don't get.
Yeah, that's an excellent point. Jenny was completely correct on all three of those. One of the things about the Georgia situation, I think it really highlights, as we mentioned, Tricia Cotham did something here. She was a white woman, and this person in Georgia is a black woman, and this has happened kind of in other states as well. But I think it highlights the problem we have with elected public servants who it's about them. And they forget it's not about them. I don't care what she thinks. She represents a district, and she should be voting however her district. If her district says we don't want school vouchers, then you vote against school vouchers. If she personally believes in school vouchers, don't run for office in a district that doesn't want school vouchers, because it's not about you. MTG's that way. President Trump's that way. Tricia Cotham is that. And what they say, I think, is the most selfish thing in the world when they always say, well, the party has left me. And that's like a child's, something a child says. No, because what she's saying is the 800,000 people who live in her district have turned on her. No, they just don't want to vote for you anymore. And so I just think it's very selfish for someone to do something like that. And I do hope that they vote her out. The disabled voters, as Jenny said, why would you vote for a party that doesn't believe your existence? I believe the same thing about the LGBT. How you can have gay Republicans today makes no logical sense to me, but they do. And the New Jersey judge, I think I understand what they're saying is, I think the reason that people are upset was because they expect judges, once you become a judge, you can't be an entertainer,
Right.
They don't want that. So I think it's more, cosmetic. But I don't know, Jenny, but I mean, do you understand about this Georgia state senator when she switched? And it's like, it's not about you,
Yeah. Well, I think they forget, and this is typical Republicans. Yeah. So obviously they were a dino. I don't think somebody switch, or because their feet got hurt, like they stubbed their little toe and they're all mad at the world. It is, again, I'm going to bet quite a bit on the fact that the Moms for Liberty, the Proud Girls Auxiliary, amongst these nut jobs trying to destroy the school system, I'm going to bet that they co-opted her a little bit. I think there is a lot of women politicians that have very conservative views but want to run in a blue city or a blue district historically, and they just want what they want. And they forgot the public service part of the equation, that you're supposed to be running for office, not to be a celebrity.
Yes, exactly.
If you want to do that, go work for Fox News, go work for OAN, go be staff for Moms for Liberty, go get into that part of politics, but don't run for office in a decidedly blue district or historically blue district like Cotham did here, or and you're a Republican running a red district, move to that district, do the right thing, but don't co-op a seat that does not belong to you. If you're an office holder, that seat does not belong to you. It belongs to the people. Yeah. That's the big part of democracy. And if the dominant voice is, we'll put the argument to gerrymandering and a lot of other things aside. But if you're, especially a historically blue district in Georgia, that has been the last 20, 30 years a historically Republican state, so a very red state, is that if you have the few blue districts in the state house there, then you, by all means, you decide to leave the Democratic Party. Just take accountability. Be accountable for the, if you're going to leave to the party of, quote, personal responsibility, then, you need to live it. Walk the walk. And just say, I'm going to resign. And we'll have a special election. And obviously, I'm going to do the honorable thing, which Republicans don't do. So obviously, this,
Well, I don't understand. I don't understand how she could join a party that doesn't believe in teaching the history of her own family.
Because she's stupid.
I mean, well,
this is probably what it is.
I agree.
So Mom for Liberty is quoting Adolf Hitler.
Yes.
Oh my God.
Yeah. Do we need to go, how did we get to the 2023 where Republicans and all their auxiliary groups are now publicly quoting Hitler? My grandfather's generation, my grandfather fought in World War II against fascism and Nazis. And now we have a decided faction in the United States right now that is openly quoting Stalin and Hitler. They call me a
they're a little out there. Hey, listen, Jenny, we're up against our first break, and we'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce right after this.
Hey, y'all, thanks for watching, and support local Black and brown businesses, including our sponsor, Manolo Bakery. That has some fabulous pastries, food, cheesecakes, all kinds of specialty cakes, tamales, and much, much more. Some of the best food we eat in Charlotte, North Carolina. Again, Manolo's Bakery, right here in East Charlotte. Thanks for watching.
Hey everyone, this is Christian Cano from the Coffee and Pan Dulce Show, and I have Jenny Gunn from the Two Queers in a Truck Show. She does want to tell you about these shows that we're going to be dropping periodically whenever we have breaking news. And Jenny, talk about T-Talk.
Hey, T-Talk is basically a short little vignette, probably about 15 minutes long, and we're just going to talk about a single issue that's come up that needs more timely attention. So they're supposed to be fun, they're supposed to be light. We will do a live version, but we'll also make sure that they're recorded and dropped on your favorite audio podcast and or Facebook as well on both of our platforms, which is Two Queers and Truck and Coffee and Pan Dulce, so that you can watch them at your leisure later on and see what crazy stuff we came up with on an absolute current pressing event. Thanks for watching, and hope you tune in to our T-Talks.
All right, bye, y'all. Well, welcome back, everyone. And I'm sorry, go ahead, Jenny. I completely agree with you. I mean, it's...
But as somebody that's had interactions with Tricia Cotham and I'm on a political action committee that interviewed her, she's not smart. She just isn't. She just isn't. Like, if it was a bulb with light bulbs, she'd be the low wattage nightlight bulb. And she skated in the office because of her mom's influence. Her mom's the one who got her the gig, got her the interviews, and influenced the group that I'm affiliated with to go ahead and interview and endorse her. because her mom's very politically powerful. And like this other person down in Georgia, I would imagine it's probably a very similar story.
Yeah.
Look, here's the thing. If you're going to run under the Democratic ticket and benefit from it, don't be a traitor and a liar. Don't be that stupid. Because payback's a bitch. Just like this senator going to get jettisoned in Georgia, let me tell you, karma is going to bite Cotham in the ass, both of them. And there is very anti-Cotham sentiment in this county now.
Oh, yeah.
And they're both, like, there's county elections next year.
Yeah.
There's not going to probably be a Cotham on that board.
We'll hope so.
I will openly say it, and I've said it on forums now. I'm saying, we're going to be putting out signs that says, across the name Cotham, no Cotham's allowed. It's going to be very aggressive because it should be. Because when you betray your party,
Pat has said on an interview that she loves her daughter and approves of what she did, and it's like, what?
Yeah.
Bye.
I mean, you can say you love your daughter, but she cheated the voters that voted for her. Now she's in there representing the other party. They didn't vote for that. They voted for her to be a Democrat. Yeah. And there should be some way to remove somebody that does that. And the fact that there isn't, I don't know.
Well, you shouldn't have to run. You should have to run to keep your seat as the party that you switch to. Like that automatically should trigger a special. There should be, you should have
another election.
You're right.
You should have to run as a Republican. And if you win a Republican,
let the voters decide
in that district. But the voters should be able to decide who represents them. That's a very anti-democracy deal. It is tantamount to almost racketeering, and it's criminal and it's wrong. And if, the same way, if a Republican switched to the Democratic Party, it was in my district, say I was in a Republican district, I would still want them to run again. I would want them vetted by the people. The whole process of elections is to vet people that will represent us in government.
Right.
Is that but over the course of the election, in most cases, unless you're New York City and Long Island, they didn't vet Santos too well. The majority of the time,
I think they missed that one, like they missed Sarah Palin.
Well,
remember that?
I mean, Alaska, though, like it's a frozen wasteland. There's not a lot of good decisions made up there. But the reality is, this is something that if it's going to be a trend and we're going to have Moms for Liberty distorting elections and causing chaos, then one, the Justice Department needs to investigate how this is happening, because clearly now it's a problem. I think Tricia Cotham should be investigated by the FBI. Personally.
Well, I mean, I do think that I think the good news that comes out of things like this is we do have to know exactly who these people are. We can't just take it. I'll give you an example, and then we'll move to our topic here. Here in Charlotte, North Carolina, filing has started here in Charlotte, North Carolina, to run for school board and also to run for city council. And local elections here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And that filing has started, and we have people that are filing to run for school board. Well, there's one person who's an African-American woman who's running for school board, who's announced she's running for school board, who actually works for a charter school. And I don't understand how you can want to represent a public school when you don't even believe in public schools. And so I do think that those are the things that I think we have to talk about. This person has been on our show several times. This person is very vocal, has also run for NAACP president because she didn't like the current NAACP president, and then swore when she was running for NAACP president, even if she loses, she'd be involved in the NAACP because she was not involved in it before. And we have not seen her since she ran for it. So I think these are the things that we have to look at, and we have to openly talk about these kind of things. And so in a good way, it has given us the ability to be a lot more cautious about people. So, I do hope that we're a lot more cautious, about individuals.
And you always say, Christian, is that the election process is a job interview.
Exactly. It's a job interview.
And something that you've repeated many times, and especially if it's a two-tiered system where there's a primary and then a general election. And that system is that way so that we can evaluate the competency of whoever's running. And then we can make the most informed decision as constituents in those districts, in those states, to say, yeah, I'm comfortable with this person enough to vote for them.
Yeah.
Or, hey, I like this other person. And that's the way democracy works. It's the way our government should work. And if we're going to go through, is we need to take the job of vetting people and quit allowing outside groups to influence elections too much. We failed the system too as a political action committee because we allowed outside influence to push us a little too far, and quite frankly, it's one of those things that, as a PAC, we should have vetted. Who we do. If we didn't think that she made standards, we didn't even have to interview her. It's not a requirement for us to do everybody.
Good point. Yep.
We can choose a deal. So there's a lot of things that we need to talk about when we're talking about North Carolina politics in general, but also national politics.
Sure.
But all groups, whether it is Equality North Carolina, whether it's the HRC, we all have to be careful, no matter what party they're part of. When we're doing the interview process, are they even worthy interviewing? Do we need to know more who they're taking money from? Who do they hang around with? We need to do a little bit more deep dives, or we don't need to interview them. If we don't know them well, they shouldn't even for an interview say, "Hey, we're going to decline." We know that you sent an application, but we don't feel like right now we know enough about you to even interview you yet.
And for the voters, and for the voters, this shows you how important it is to ask questions at candidate forums. Don't be afraid to ask a question. So when you're at a candidate forum, ask the person, you're running for school board. Are your kids in public school? Why aren't your kids in public school? Yeah.
Well, these are important questions because we need to know who is applying for those jobs. Because in county government, for example, if you have a problem with integrity or have an issue with honesty, like the Cawthon family does, for example, and betraying their own political party that's made them, maybe those questions need to be asked. We need to talk about it. We don't need to tiptoe around one of our sacred cows like a Pat Cawthon that has shown a lukewarm alliance to the LGBT community. But now, had her daughter betray not only the LGBT community, but women's rights, reproductive rights, which she also ran on that she would be, pro Roe versus Wade, but then voted for abortion bans.
Yeah, exactly.
Voted with the Republicans. And so we have to be aggressive in that. We have to do the same things Republicans do, which is hardcore litmus tests, hardcore vetting, hardcore, hey, this is what we want out of a candidate, and making sure they understand that's what we want. Is a Democrat need to quit being so milquetoast and spineless. And I'm saying this as a registered Democrat. I'm not an independent. I'm a Democrat. I am going to always vote for the Democrat if a Democrat candidate is available, bar none. I'm saying this as a Democrat. We need to have higher standards. We need to say, as a progressive party and a progressive leaning party, these are our standards. If you don't meet these standards, you don't need to run. We need to have a talk.
I agree. I think, and hopefully what this is all teaching us is to be a better party. I'm a Democrat too as well. But, we need to vote for people who believe in what the party's platform is. So I agree. I completely agree with Jenny. Hey, listen, we're up against our second break, and I promise you we will now go into our topic But we'll be right back on our Coffee and Pan Dulce Show. Hey everyone, thank you so much for watching our Coffee and Pan Dulce Show every week. Don't forget you can watch us visually on our video podcast platforms on Facebook and YouTube, but you can also listen to us on your favorite audio podcast platforms like Apple, Amazon, iHeartRadio, Spotify, and all of the other ones that your favorite, whatever your favorite is. Once again, thank you for watching us on Coffee and Pan Dulce. We'll dance out. Well, welcome back. Okay, so I just want to read you some stats real quickly as we talk about our topic for a couple of minutes. Our topic is the Great Florida Brain Drain. So there's been all of this talk, this promotion from DeSantis, who's running for president, the governor of Florida, about how great of a job he's done and how Florida is a wonderful state and all this kind of stuff. But people in Florida think differently. People in Florida are like, I hate living here. There aren't a lot of people who say, I love living in Florida. They have high insurance rates. It's hard to insure their home. They have the weather, climate change, all kinds of stuff. So there are a lot of the salaries are very, very, very low in the service industry and also in the professional industry. So that's the reason why people who retire there enjoy being there, because the cost of living is lower for some people. But here's the data. In 2021, this is the last data that was released. 2022 data has not been released yet. In 2021, 674,000, almost 675,000 people moved to Florida. It was the highest state of any, it was the highest relocation of any state. What they don't tell you is 470,000 people moved out. So a lot of these states like Texas, Florida, and Governor Newsom is great in California because, there have been people who left California, but there's also people who've moved to California. And so it is interesting that they don't tell you the people that have left the state. They only tell you about the people that have moved to state. So the net change is only about 200,000. It's still a lot of people, but it's nothing like what he's saying. He doesn't say that. The reason I wanted to talk about this was because there was an article in the Insider that said, the title of the Insider, it came out, I think, a month ago, and we talked about this briefly. Americans are still moving to Florida. They might regret it. And it talks about all the people who've moved to Florida who now regret moving to Florida because of the how expensive it is to get insurance on houses, on personal property because of the hurricanes and so forth. And the governor doesn't even talk about that. Not only that, but here's another thing. Teachers are leaving Florida in droves. Jenny has been talking about this a lot. As Florida culture war rages, educators across the street, Florida ranks 48th in national teacher salary. One state is below it, and that's the state of Texas. Texas rates 49. Yes. So they are terrible on how they so that's why the teachers are leaving the state as well. So there's a lot of, there's a lot of fluff. As Jenny says, it's great to go to Florida, go to Disney World, but I don't want to live in Florida, And so we want to talk about the Great Florida Brain Drain. So let's bring you back, Jenny. I know I'm saying stuff that you've said already before, but.
Well, we've talked about this before, is Texas went through the same thing. So, after baby Bush being governor, and then we had super stupid Rick Perry as governor, which I don't know how he became governor, but you talk about dumb. I mean, he look like a rocket doctor. I mean, the dude was dumb. I mean, even Republicans said, man, that guy's dumb.
Remember the big laugh when he was running for president? He just stood there with his mouth open. He couldn't remember what he was going to say. I'm like, sitting here watching him, trying to think, what the heck is he trying to say? It was embarrassing. I was embarrassed for him.
Rick Perry,
and I don't like him.
And he made baby Bush dumb. I mean, he was pretty freaking dumb. I mean, he was just a patsy for, Cheney
and his father.
But
sorry,
the Republican Party did the same thing in Texas about 20 years ago. Mm-hmm. And at one point, when it still has chronic teacher shortages, there is 400,000 certified teachers that live in Texas that do not teach. They've gone on to other professions. And the reason being, one was pay and benefits. But honestly, it's just dissatisfaction with a state that pushes standardized testing more than actually educating people and being competent. So in the state of Florida, they're short, I think it's 55,000 teachers at the beginning of this last school year that we just finished up. 55,000 teachers is a lot. And so they've put this war against education, this war against public education, and doing all this social engineering and all this. That's a big part of it. It's not just the pay. But if you have to clear out your personal library in your classroom, say you're a third grade teacher, and you have all these books that kids can check out inside the class and read during downtimes and things like that, and you can't have any books in there because the principal said, I'm afraid that even two boys holding hands and a Tom Sawyer book, or like we don't even want it to be downwind or imply gayness or sexuality or anything, because the book Gestapo is going to come in and seize your classroom, and we're going to have Stephen Schultz going, oh, this is very interesting that you've got the gay book that we've been reading for 150 fucking years, but it's gotten to the point to where, why would you take mediocre pay to do a thankless job because the ruling party in Florida hates your profession and wants to destroy it? Why would you work in that industry anymore if you're getting spit on by the powers to be? At some point, you're an educated professional. You're going to vote with your feet. You're either going to leave the profession because you can go drive an Uber and make the same amount of money, and you don't have to deal with anybody longer than 20 or 30 minutes.
Or anybody else screaming kids.
You don't put ratty kids, and worse, most teachers don't hate their kids nearly as much as they hate the parents. Because if the kids usually the parents are shitbirds. They're absolute hillbilly trash.
Well, one of the things I think we're going to... go ahead, Jen. I'm sorry.
And if you're an LGBT teacher, for sure you're leaving for it.
Exactly.
Why in the hell would you stay? They don't want you there. They pay better. Have better working environments and a pro-public education.
Well, one of the things I think we're going to see, and I'm going to ask this question to Barbara, because I think one of the things that we haven't put into this calculation that just logically, we have a thing called snowbirds. Snowbirds are people who live in the north, will go down to Florida during the winter, and then leave because it's so hot in Florida. Right. We also have, so we're going to have the same phenomenon in a couple of years for the people who have moved to Florida and have moved to Texas. Like, for an example, Texas today, when we film this, is going to be 107 in Texas. And this is in North Texas, okay? You can't even touch things metal when it's that hot. So you're going to have people who realize, I don't think I want to live in this miserable heat with the high insurance rates and stuff. And they're going to start moving back up north just because of climate change. It's getting hotter. Here in North Carolina, when we first moved here 10 years ago, we saw a lot of snow. Yep. We haven't seen snow in the last couple of years because of climate change. The weather is getting warmer, moving up. And so I do think that it is, I can see people over the last year moving to Florida, maybe even younger people. But when you live there and you're making less money and you're having to put up with the heat, put up with the craziness, put up with the bad roads, I'm talking Texas and the bad roads, the crowdedness. I think you suddenly find yourself, hey, you know what? This wasn't the paradise that I thought. So I do think we're going to start seeing that. Yeah, I don't think we're going to see that maybe this year, but next year and the next year, I think you're going to start seeing people, especially older people who, why do I want to put up with the heat, like that and the high insurance rates? So I don't know, Jen, do you see that happening like in Texas? Do you think people are going to start going, hey, it's way too hot?
They already have.
Okay.
Of Florida and Texas are two of the biggest trans refugee states that are trans families with a trans kid are leaving, but they're not the only one.
Yeah.
You take me, for example, the environment in Texas, what I left was no better or worse than North Carolina.
Yeah.
But I really left because, there weren't any opportunities in Texas.
Sure.
For people that are, the working poor or the lower middle class, Texas and Florida are very punitive states in tax fairness.
Exactly.
It's very expensive to live if you don't make a lot of money in Texas or Florida. Texas and Florida rigged the game for high wealth individuals to come there.
Yes.
These people that are independently wealthy, that aren't paycheck to paycheck Americans like most Americans are. So let's talk about just the working class of people from 18 to about 60.
Sure.
In those lower middle to working poor people, Texas and Florida are hellholes for people like that. And then when you make it that much worse by throwing in all the don't say gay, and they're making Florida an already miserable place to live in. And I've lived in resort cities. I've worked in the resort industry. But if you're going to make it so miserable, the second thing is Florida has had this problem for a long time, even before DeSantis. And they've been so punitive to the working class that when they go back, and some of them go back and get an education, like a college degree or something like that, they're going to immediately live like Texas or Florida.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so part of the brain drain equation is that some people go back in life to school in their 30s and 40s and go, I'm going to switch to a higher paying profession, but I've got to get some accreditation or certification to be able to do this, like become an RN or, or a real estate broker or anything like this. But I'm not going to do it in the state I currently live in. I don't want to. If I'm going to better myself, I want to live in a place that is more reasonable to live in, that's more equitable, and quite frankly is not for the type of environment that they're trying to foster. And so when you see, I think Florida is like 47th or 48th in tax fairness.
So exactly.
At the bottom. It's
very high.
Why you put up with that? And when you factor in the changed climate, where it's not the heat, but the stupidity, you don't want to. When I left Texas this last time to move here in 2018, I knew that was my last time to live in Texas forever. I knew I was never coming back. I don't refer to it as my home state anymore. I refer to it as my birth state. I'm not going to claim a state that is so miserable to so many different people. Texas is a shithole.
Well, one of the things I think that people, I think one of the things, you're exactly right, Jenny. One of the things that people don't consider when you live in states like that, if you are a low income and a low wage person, you are affected more by sales taxes because you tend to buy things more. Sales taxes are very high in Texas and in Florida because they have no state income tax. And so people think, oh, there's no state income tax, it must be cheaper. Well, what they do, they get you on the, and people with money have the ability to decide what they want to buy and stuff like that. They don't want their income taxed because they make a lot of income. People with low income, it doesn't really benefit you a lot if you have to pay a lot in sales taxes, if your rents are higher, if your mortgage is higher, if you have to pay more in insurance. And so you're right, Jenny, it affects the working poor more in states like that. Yep. Yeah, much more. And so you're right. I mean, you have to, if you're at a certain income, it has. Hey, listen, before you go, Jenny, we want to talk about Jenny's show that comes on 30 minutes after this one. It's called Two Queers in a Truck. It drops every Wednesday at 11:30. This next commercial, we'll be talking about that. We'll be right back on Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Up next is Two Queers in a Truck with Jenny and Christian. And hope you guys tune in. We'll see you in about 15 to 20 minutes. Thank you. Bye.
Well, welcome back, everyone. And so please join Jenny's show. We've taped it before, so I know exactly what we talked about. But go ahead, Jenny. I know you wanted to finish your thought.
Well, And the current reality is no matter who you are, but especially if you're in that, those peak earning years, and or if you made a life change, and you go, well, I've got all this education, and where I'm living is miserable. Why did I do this? And you start questioning these decisions. So a lot of my friends are in these ages. I'm on the end of that spectrum. But my younger friends that are Generation Z and the younger millennials question staying in a place that's miserable. Whereas you look at the environment that Governor Cooper's created here in North Carolina, for example, a Democrat, that's been very pro-business because he's keep the saneness of governance down, not passing any bathroom bills, holding the line on civil rights and protecting people. Did an amazing job during COVID as far as managing expectation, educating people in the public, sticking to their guns on mask mandates and things like that. Literally saved lives, even Republican lives that wanted to go against their own best interest by running around immunocompromised, wanting to run through, COVID, clusters. But he even protected Republican lives as much as he could. And that's why North Carolina has been rewarded by these large, innovative companies moving here.
Because we've been considered a sane state. Yeah.
They go, well, the state's pretty stable now. They got rid of the previous governor that was an idiot that drove out the film industry and a bunch of other industries and said, we ain't going there. Yeah. This dude's he's trying to put bathrooms. Yeah. And so taxation, especially income tax, is a Republican bullshit smoke screen in a case. Yes. Mm-hmm. It is not an overriding factor to most people, and especially lower income people. Is that an income tax? You already pay federal income taxes, and the state income taxes aren't that high. And so we see through that, and anybody that's smart, and the only people that benefit from a no state income tax are very high net worth individuals.
Yes, exactly.
That have more to lose, but those states also on tax fairness are always at the bottom quintile. There's very few of them, and also ultimately. Those states keep raising the other taxes a lot to compensate for income tax.
Exactly.
Whereas California has income tax.
When did North Carolina put in a state income tax? Because when I first started working in the pharmaceutical industry, 2 of the women managers retired and moved to North Carolina because there was no state income tax. Do you guys know when they implemented that?
Well, if they were retired, they would never have been taxed on their income because they had no income. So I think it's always been. I'm not sure. We'll have to look into that. That's a good question. We've had a state income tax since I've been here. Hey, listen, we're going to jump directly, very briefly, because we're on a time crunch here today. Because I know Barb has got to get out here. We're gonna jump directly into the Pendejo Chronicles. And this is the Pendejo Chronicles. Well, welcome back, everyone. So here's the Pendejo Chronicles. Trump has said, that's the Pendejo of the day. Trump has said he wants to delay his federal court case. The federal government is asking for his trial to be in December of this year. He's saying that it needs to be delayed until after the election because he's too busy running for president. So basically he's saying, I don't have time to be charged. So anybody want to comment on that?
I mean, yeah, oh my God.
Well, I don't know. I mean, Jenny, it's I don't know any criminal that can actually go to court and say, I'm sorry, hold on a second. I'm really too busy can you wait a couple of years until I finish doing what I'm doing? I mean, then you shouldn't have committed the crime. So I do think it is kind of silly for him to, that's actually his argument on why he needs to delay it, because he said that he's too busy, it's interfering. And his co-defendant, whose attorney is in Florida, is saying that he has too many cases to try, that he needs to also delay the co-defendant's trial. So I don't know, real quickly, Jenny, because we got to cut this show short today. What are your thoughts about that? Or do you have any thoughts about Trump saying that he's too busy running for president to go on trial?
Well, yeah, I mean, I would say that too if I was up for all the felonies and misdemeanors that I was up for.
Felonies yet either.
Yeah,
and it's about to get worse. They're actually forming a grand jury in the state of Georgia over his allegedly trying to influence state officials to find those extra 10 or 15,000 votes or whatever he was searching for. Like there's some kind of grab bag of votes just for Republicans. Like a reserve. They went like a reserve fuel tank that they put in large pickup trucks and trucks, where they flip a switch and go, there's another 15,000 votes. I should get those delegates type thing. Like it's let's make the deal or something. But just to answer your question, I can't find where North Carolina kicked in a state income tax, but on that front, in 2023, they are lowering the state income tax to 4.75 from 4.99. And then by 2027, it's going to be down to 3.99. So it'll be 1% drop in the next 4 years. It's really low.
Excellent.
For whatever reason. Maybe the Republicans put that in or whatever.
I doubt it. Oh, excuse me.
But it's not an overriding factor on why the mythology of why companies will come to a state is usually quality of life for their employees, how education levels. So if you're a tech company like Apple that's putting in a huge facility in Raleigh, for example, they need an educated workforce for technology. I mean, like they can't. There's a lot of places in Florida that don't have enough smart people to put that place in. Like Florida and Texas will try to compete for something like that, but Apple said, "Nah, I'm not interested." Because more and more educated people are leaving states like that.
Exactly.
But on the Trump,
you weren't interested because of the whole electrical power system in Texas, how unstable it could potentially be. That was discussed.
Well, also plus one of the things that people don't talk about is Texas has a water shortage. And if you are in the manufacturing, or if you are in the IT, like you have big warehouses that have computers, you need to keep it cool. And Texas does not have a lot of groundwater. They have a water shortage because of the heat and the population growth. North Carolina has about 70 years left of groundwater. So we're considered a water-rich state. They're considered a water, I don't know what they would consider it. Mississippi's that way. Louisiana's that way. I don't know about Florida. I think they're pretty good. So Texas does have a water shortage, which is one of the reasons why manufacturers are second guessing now, moving their big plants to Texas, because they don't have enough water to cool their systems. And water is very expensive as well. So, hey, listen, we have run out of time because I know Barb has something to do. And so I want to go around the Brady Bunch screen and tell us where you're going to be after this show. Jen, we'll start with you.
Let's see, it's the 19th. So 10 days from today, if you're seeing this for the first time, I do have my fundraising show, my benefits show that we're doing on the 29th. It's also introducing my brand to the Charlotte market. It's a grand opening type thing. And so we have the RuPaul Queen pheromone, and
cool.
it's going to be at the Bazaar, which is a private rental space that is both a nightclub, but it's really more of an event space. It's also an art gallery, so it's really pretty. They've been really generous to us by helping us out on that. And we're having a really elegant deal, and it's helping me not only get my company off the ground, and it's over in the Music Exchange area north of Uptown. And it's really, really pretty. Pictures are going to go up on the social media, but I've been contacting mostly people that have helped me along the way first and telling them the tickets are going on sale. We're doing advanced ticket sales right now. And so I've been basically sending out as many social media invites as I can. This week, I've been a little behind. So if you are a friend of mine, you do watch the show, don't be offended because I've had a lot to do. But yeah, I am super excited. We have the Vanity House is our host company that does drag events and other kind of events here in the greater Charlotte area and all over the world. And so we're super excited. It's going to be a really neat time in a very elegant space. It's going to be a next level event, and it's going to be able to introduce my company brand, which I've been working to get off the ground since the 1st of January.
Okay.
But it is going to be fun, and it's going to be a great night out, and I hope people come out.
Okay, excellent. And Barb, where are you going to be? Do you know?
Yep. And if you hear screaming later on today, you know they didn't do things at my house. But I'm trying to wrap up a lot of things up with that remodel that I've been helping with in Winston-Salem, and we're starting to make progress. So I'm hoping and praying by the end of the summer we're going to be done. And I got a new roof last week, so I am a happy woman. One is fully done, so I too darn hot to go out. But I'll tell you something. I talked to one of my friends from my old neighborhood when I lived in Texas, and she said, I thought about you the other day because our grandson dumped his egg on the ground and it kept cooking.
Oh my God. Yeah. It is hot. It's 107 today. Listen, I do. Thank you, Barb, and welcome back, Barbara. And we hope we'll see you again next week, because next week's going to be a very special show. We continue our shows in Florida, and next week's show is Florida's War on Drag and Disney. We will have the world famous Sushi. Miss Sushi will be on the show. She'll be one of our guests as well. We'll also have Cece Labrie, who will be back, but we'll actually have to tape his interview. He's actually a native Texan, but lives in Winston-Salem as well. And he's a drag queen performer. But Sushi will be on the show, and she'll be talking to us about how Florida's laws have impacted. She owns the 801 Girls behind me. Not these, she doesn't own these ladies, but she owns the club, and she's also famous because on New Year's Eve she's the one that drops on the big shoe every year. She's been on CNN and all the shows. So she will be on our show next week, and we'll be very happy to have her. And then the week after, we will hopefully we'll start our August shows, but we'll still be talking about Florida. We'll be talking about the Free Cuba movement 3 years after it started, and then we will end the Florida shows with: did the MAGA boycotts against Cracker Barrel and Target, did they work this summer? And now that we're finding out stuff that Kid Rock's bar never actually took a Bud Light out of his stores. So we'll be talking about that. So anything else before we close the show, y'all?
Oh, that's no surprise. Conservatives didn't stop shopping at Target either. Is they, especially the bougie ones, they didn't stop.
Yes.
They're not switched to Walmart. Target's got nicer, cleaner stores.
Yeah. Exactly.
Hey,
that's true. That's true. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. We'll dance out. Thank you. We'll see you next week on Coffee and Pan Dulce. Bye, y'all.
Hey, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce this week. Y'all be safe out there, especially in those really hot, Texas summers. Record temperatures, drink water, pace yourself. Don't do anything too crazy. It is dangerous. It can be life-threatening. If you do have signs of heat stroke, make sure you seek medical attention. Have a great week. Thank you.
Bye, y'all.
Next up, thanks for watching Coffee and Pan Dulce. Next up is Two Queers and a Truck. Stay tuned.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.
Sounds
You
great.
sounded like a telenova. I mean,
I'm trying this. I'm trying to. All I have to say is go. Yes.
as a non-Spanish speaker.
Yeah, and I was walking this morning and a sprinkler soaked me. My hair is, I said, forget it.
Oh,
I can't
no.
take this. No,
Okay.
I put my hair up. I don't care.
You ready, Jim?
Yeah.
Okay. Hold on one second. We're going to jump directly into the Bandu. All right, we'll do it again. Okay, so we're just going to go like 4 minutes in this, and then we're going to stop because Barb has to get out. So we will come back. Here we go.
Coffee and Pan Dulce. How's that? Coffee and Pan Dulce.